The kingdom of my divine will in the midst of creatures. Book of Heaven, Volume 35, Part 13. February 14th, 1938. How the acts of one who lives in the divine will extend over all and become the narrators of the Supreme Being. Display of love. How, in creating the Virgin, God created forgiveness. My flight continues in the divine volition. Oh, how I feel dissolved within its immensity! Its power and activity are such that when it operates in the act of the creature, it wants to give that act to all. It wants to fill heaven and earth, to make everyone see and feel what it can do and how it can love. I remained surprised, and my beloved Jesus, visiting my little soul, all goodness, told me, "My blessed daughter, the love of my will, in operating in the act of the creature, is such as to seem incredible. As it operates, my will wants everyone to undergo that act, and do it as their own act. With its omnipotent breath, it gives wings to that act, and makes the sun, the heavens, the stars, the wind, the sea, go through it, and even the air that all breathe. Then it flies higher, up to the celestial regions, and everyone, the angels, the saints, the Queen and Mother, and even our divinity, undergo that act, in such a way that, each one receiving it, all must be able to say, 'This act is mine.' But do you know why? The love of my will is such that it wants everyone to possess its act, giving life to each one. It wants to decorate, adorn, and invest everything and everyone with its creative virtue, in order to receive from everything and from each one the glory, the love, and the honor that my will possesses. My volition never stops. Only when it sees that its act has fulfilled everything, then is it content. And as triumph, it carries with itself the creature who gave it the freedom to operate in her act, to make it known and loved by all. These are our feasts, our pure joys of creation, to be able to put something of our own in the creature, as though wanting to duplicate our power, immensity, love, and glory to the infinite in the human act of the creature. Nor should there be any wonder about it. Our divine will is present everywhere. Therefore our acts that animate the acts of the creatures fly and take refuge inside our volition, even into the tiniest hiding places where my will is present. These acts serve us as the requital of love from all creation, as the sweetest company for us, and as the narrators of our Supreme Being. Therefore, our love is exuberant for one who wants to live in our Fiat. We are all eyes over this creature, almost spying to see when she lends us her act, so as to let us put our creative virtue to work in it. This creature is for us the display of our love, the activity of our power, and she becomes the repeater of our very life. After this I continued my round in the divine volition, and my sweet Jesus transported my little will inside the creative act of his. My God, how many surprises! My poor intelligence gets lost and is unable to say anything. Then my always lovable Jesus, repeating his short little visit, all goodness told me, "My good daughter, our Fiat in creation made a display of our love, operative, powerful, and wise, in such a way that all created things are filled with our love, power, wisdom, and unspeakable beauty. We can call them the administrators of our Supreme Being. But in the creation of the Sovereign Queen, we moved beyond that. Our love was not content with the mere display, but wanted to assume the attitude of mercy, of tenderness, and of compassion, so profound and intimate, as though wanting to turn into tears for love of creatures. This is why, as our Fiat was pronounced in order to create her and call her to life, so did it create forgiveness, mercy, reconciliation between us and mankind. And we deposited it inside this celestial and holy creature as the administrator between our children and hers. Therefore, the Sovereign Lady possesses seas of forgiveness, of mercy, of compassion, as well as tearful seas of our love, in which she can envelop all generations, generated anew within these seas created by us in her, seas of forgiveness, of mercy, and of so tender a compassion as to soften the hardest hearts. My daughter, it was just that everything be deposited inside this celestial mother, because she having to possess the kingdom of our will, everything was to be entrusted to her. She alone has sufficient space to be able to possess our seas created by us. With its creative and preserving power, our will maintains whatever it creates intact, without ever lessening, in spite of our continuous giving. On the other hand, where our will is not present, we cannot give, nor entrust, or deposit. We find no space. Our love remains hampered in the many beautiful works we want to do in the creatures. Only in this Sovereign Lady did our love find no obstruction, and therefore it displayed so much and did so many wonders, to the point of giving her divine fecundity, to make of her the mother of her Creator. Then my beloved Jesus made present to me all the acts that he did together with his celestial mamma, and while they were operating, the seas of love of one and the other became one, and raising their waves up to heaven, invested everything, even our divinity. There is a footnote here regarding the word our. It says there is a shift to direct speech from Jesus. So we will begin again. Then my beloved Jesus made present to me all the acts that he did together with his celestial mamma, and while they were operating, the seas of love of one and the other became one, and raising their waves up to heaven, invested everything, even our divinity, and forming a thick rain of love upon our divine being, they carried the love of all, the refreshment and balm by which our divine being remained soothed, changing justice into a surge of love toward the creatures. It can be said that our love regenerated the human family with new love, and God loved it with doubled love. But where? In the Queen, and in her dear Son. Now, listen to another surprise. When I, as a little baby, was suckling the milk from my mamma, I suckled souls, because she kept them in deposit, and in giving me her milk, she deposited all souls in me, because she wanted me to love them, give my kiss to all of them, and make of them my victory and hers. Not only this, but in giving me her milk, she also made me suckle her maternity, her tendernesses, and she imposed herself on me with her love, so that I would love souls with maternal and paternal love. And I received in me her maternity, her unspeakable tendernesses, and so I loved souls with divine love, maternal and paternal. Then, after she would deposit all souls in me, I, with one of my stratagems of love, with a breath or a sweet gaze of mine, would deposit them again inside her maternal heart. And in order to requite her, I would give her my paternal love, my divine love, which is unceasing, firm, unshakable, and never changes. In fact, the human love changes easily, and I wanted my inseparable mother to possess the same prerogatives of my love, and to love souls the way only a God can love. Therefore, in every act we did, from the littlest to the greatest, it was exchanges of deposit of souls that we were making. There is a footnote here with regards to the word we meaning Jesus and his mother. Therefore, in every act we did, Jesus and his mother, from the littlest to the greatest, it was exchanges of deposit of souls that we were making, I in her, she in me. Even more, I can say that we duplicated this deposit of souls, because what I received from my dear mamma, I kept inside my divine heart with highest jealousy, as the greatest gift she could give to me. And she, in receiving my gift, would keep it so jealously as to put all her maternity in motion, in order to keep the gift that her son was giving her. Now, in these exchanges of deposit that we were making, our love grew, and loved all creatures with new love. We were making designs on how to love them more, and how to win them all by way of love. And we laid down our lives in order to rescue them. Fiat. February 20th, 1938. How Jesus, in incarnating himself, formed from himself as many Jesuses for as many creatures as would exist, so that each of them might have a Jesus at her disposal. I am in the arms of the divine volition, which loves me so much, and to show me how much it loves me, it wants to always tell me its eternal and long love story, adding new surprises, such that one remains enraptured, finding it impossible not to love it. Only one who is ungrateful and mindless would not. Then the divine Fiat made present to me what it had done in the descent of the Word upon earth. And my sweet Jesus, repeating his usual little visit, all goodness told me, "My little daughter of my will, you must know that my love is so great that it feels the need to pour itself out, and to entrust its secrets to one who lives in my will, so that, making her aware of everything, we may love with one love, and I may repeat in her what I did within myself. Listen then, daughter, where the excesses of my love reached, making me do things unheard of and incredible to the created minds. So in coming upon earth, I wanted to form from myself as many Jesuses for as many creatures as had existed, were existing, and would exist. Hence, each one was to have his Jesus, fully his own, at his disposal. Therefore, each one would have my conception in order to remain conceived in me, my birth to be reborn, my tears to be washed, my tender age in order to be restored and to begin his new life, my steps as life and guide of his own, my works to make his works arise within mine, my pains as balm and strength for his pains, and as repayment of any debt incurred with divine justice. My death to find his life again, my resurrection for him to rise again completely in my will, and to the complete glory he was supposed to give to his Creator. And this with highest love, with reason, with justice, and with highest wisdom. My celestial Father was to find in me, in order to be satisfied, glorified, and repaid for his great love, as many lives of mine, for as many creatures as he had issued and would issue to daylight. And even though not everyone would take this life of mine, my celestial Father demanded my life, in order to be glorified for everything he had done in the work of creation and redemption. I can say that as soon as man withdrew from our will, so did the glory which was due to my divine Father cease. Hence, had I not formed from myself as many Jesuses for as many existing creatures, the glory of the celestial Father would have been incomplete. And I cannot do incomplete works. My love would have waged war against me, had I not formed of myself many Jesuses. First, for our own decorum and glory, and then to give this complete good to each creature. Therefore, our greatest sorrow is that in spite of so many of my lives that are at each one's disposal, some do not recognize them. Some don't even look at them. Some do not make use of them. Some offend them, while some just barely take the crumbs of my life. Few are those who say, I do the life of Jesus, with Jesus, and I love like Jesus loves, and I want what he wants. These creatures are the requital, together with me, of the glory and love of creation and redemption. But even though not all of these lives of mine serve the creature, they admirably serve the glory of my divine Father, since I did not come upon earth only for the creatures, but also to reintegrate the interests and the glory of my celestial Father. Oh, if you could see what a beautiful cortege these many lives of mine form around our divinity, and how much love and glory are unleashed from them, you would remain so enraptured that it would be difficult for you to go back into yourself. Jesus became silent, and I remained with the scene before my mind of so many Jesuses, or as many existing creatures. But I carried a thorn inside my heart that tortured me and embittered me down to the marrow of my bones. For a person very dear to me and necessary to my poor existence, who was in danger of death, and I wanted to save this person at any cost. Therefore I took the divine will, I made it all mine, and in my sorrow I said, Jesus, your will is mine. Your power and immensity are in my power. I do not want this, and you must not want it either. My God, I felt I was battling with a power, and in order to win, my mind brought itself before the divinity, and I placed around it the expanse of the heavens with all the stars in prayer, the vastness of the light of the sun with the might of its heat, the entire creation in prayer, and then the seas of love and power of the Queen of Heaven, the pains and the blood shed by Jesus, like many seas around the divinity, all in prayer, and then the many Jesuses of each creature, so that they might have a sigh, a plea, to obtain what I wanted. But what was not my surprise and emotion together in seeing and hearing that the many Jesuses of each creature were praying to obtain what I wanted? I remained confounded in seeing so much divine goodness and compliance. May he be always thanked and blessed, and may everything be for his glory. Fiat. February 26, 1938. How God recognizes himself in one who tries to recognize God in his works. Happiness that God receives from the love of the creature. The place that man has in the creation and in the very divinity. How creation forms the members of one who lives in the divine will. I am under the empire of the divine volition, which loves and longs to be recognized in all its works. It seems that it takes the little creature by the hand, and carrying her in flight, points out to her all that it did, how much it loved her in each created thing, and how by right it wants to be loved. To love without being requited in love is its greatest sorrow. I remained surprised, and my always lovable Jesus, visiting my little soul, all goodness, told me, "My blessed daughter, to love and to be loved is the greatest refreshment for our love. To the happiness of heaven unites the happiness of the earth, and as they kiss each other, we feel that the earth too makes us happy, bringing us the love of the creature who recognizes us and loves us. She brings us the most beautiful joys and the greatest happiness. More so, since the joys of heaven are ours. No one can take them away from us, while those we receive through the love of the creature are new for us and form our new conquests. Moreover, as we are recognized in our works, the creature takes flight to ascend and recognize He who created her. For us to be recognized is the greatest glory, the love most intense that we receive. And by being recognized, we form our army, the divine militia, our people, from whom we demand nothing other than the tribute of being loved. And we put all our works at their disposal to serve them, abounding with all that may make them happy. While if they do not recognize us, we remain like the God with no army and without a people. How painful it is to deliver so many creatures to daylight, and to remain without an army and without a people. Now, keep listening to me. As the creature recognizes us and loves us in the created things, so does she impress in them a note of love and of happiness for her Creator. And as she rises up to recognize her Creator, she recognizes us, and we recognize our divine being in her. And if you knew what it means to recognize each other, our love, being loved, is pacified and loves more intensively the one who loves it, and reaches such excess that in order to recognize itself in the creature, it creates itself. But to do what? To recognize itself in her and to be loved. How beautiful it is when we recognize ourselves in the creature. She becomes for us our throne, our divine chamber, our heaven. The seas of our love inundate her. Her littlest acts form waves of love that love us, glorify us, bless us. And she recognizes us in ourselves. She recognizes us in herself. She recognizes us in all created things. And we recognize her in all our works, in the heavens, in the sun, in the wind, in everything. Our love, united to our Fiat, brings her everywhere, and we place her in the order of our works. After this, my mind continued to swim in the sea of the divine volition. My God, how many surprises! How many wonders! And my sweet Jesus, visiting my little soul, all inundated with his flames of love, told me, "Blessed daughter of my will, my love gives me no peace if it doesn't make me say new surprises about my divine fiat. It wants to make known to you the sublimeness, the nobility, and the place that the creature occupies, both in the creation and in our divine being, when she lives in our divine volition. Now you must know that in the creation she occupies the first place. All created things feel so connected together and united that they become for her inseparable members. So the sun is her member, the expanse of the heavens, the wind, the air that all breathe, are her members. All created things feel happy, honored, to be the members of this fortunate creature. And some become her heart, some her hand, some her feet, some her eyes, some her breath. In some there is no created thing which does not have its distinct place, and does not exercise the office of being her member. And her soul, as the head, keeps her members in order, and receives and gives to God all the love, the sanctity, the glory, and all the goods that the created things contain. More so, since all created things are our members too. Hence, for the creature who lives in our will, her members are ours, and ours are hers, which keep our Supreme Being in communication with the creature, and we become for her more than blood that circulates in the veins of her soul, the continuous heartbeat of love as we palpitate in her heart, the divine breath as we breathe within her soul. And loving this more than celestial creature with excessive love, we place in circulation her little love and her acts inside our divine being. We are jealous of her heartbeat and of her breath, and we enclose them inside our own. Nothing comes out of her which does not remain enclosed within us, so as to requite her with our love, and to hear her delightful and sweet refrain, "I love you, I love you, I love you." So in one who lives in our will, we see the continuous chain of love that never breaks, and our love has its ledge on which to lean, to be able to say incessantly, "I love you, I love you, I love you." When our love does not find the love of the creature, it remains suspended and screams with pain, almost wanting to deafen the creature, to say to her, "Why do you not love me? Not loving us is the cruelest wound for us." But this is not all yet. Our love is not content if it does not reach the excess. Do you want to know why we made of the creation many members that had to serve as our members, as well as members of the creature? In each created thing, we placed our gifts, our sanctity, our love, as bearers of what we wanted to give to her, and as carriers of what she would do for us. All created things are crammed with, and the depository of, what we wanted to give her. The heavens, with the multiplicity of their stars, symbolize our many new and distinct acts that we wanted to give her. The sun symbolizes our eternal light, with which we wanted to inundate her. And its heat and the effects it possesses represent our love that almost wants to drown her, to make her feel how much we love her, while its effects are our various beauties with which we wanted to invest her. In the wind, in each blow, we placed our kisses, our loving caresses, and in its mighty waves, our ruling love, to sweep her into our love with our squeezes and embraces, so as to render her inseparable from us. In sum, each created thing possesses our gifts to be given to the creature. But who takes them? Only those who live in our will. I can say that all created things are pregnant with our gifts, but they cannot give them. They cannot be the bearers of them, because they do not find one who lives in our divine Fiat, which has the virtue and the power of putting her in communication with all our works, more than her own members, and with her very Creator, more than her own life. How many unheard of prodigies we will deliver from our divine womb, for those who will let our will reign. Our works will sing triumphs and victories, and full-handed they will abound in giving the gifts and the goods of their Creator, which they possess. All will be happy, the giver and the receivers. Therefore, be attentive, and do not occupy yourself with anything other than living in my will, because I have much to give you, and you much to receive. I remained surprised in hearing this, and I said to myself, is it possible, all that he just said? It seems incredible. And my sweet Jesus added, my daughter, do not be surprised. You must know that everything we did was to serve the creature who would possess my divine will as life. And this was necessary for our decorum, wisdom, power, and for our majesty. Now, when the creature withdrew from our will, justice demanded that we withdraw from her all that was to serve as befitting to our supreme majesty. And the creature remained like the head without its members. Poor head, with no members, what good could it ever do? It is true that the head has the supremacy over the members, but without members the head can do nothing. It has no life and no works. Now, since my will wants to go back inside the creatures, my love wants, it demands, that they be given back the members. Not only the members, but the very life of he who created them. Our reigning will place all its works in force, and it will give back to the creature what she lost by doing her will, which devastates all goods, snaps all communications with our works and with her own Creator, and becomes like a dislocated bone that loses communication with all its members, and is fit for nothing but giving pain. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven. Volume 35, Part 13. Fiat.